Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And, today we're looking at something that's, well, it's ripped from the headlines. I guess you could say AI accountability.
Hmm.
When AI breaks the law,
Yeah.
who is actually responsible?
Right.
And it's really interesting because it feels like we're in the Wild West right now.
Yeah.
Technology is so far ahead of the law
Absolutely.
that it's hard to know what to do. So we're going to be looking at a recent episode of TrendTalk USA.
Yeah.
And they did not shy away from some of the big questions here.
Right.
They looked at self-driving car accidents, AI-generated libel, even AI personhood.
Well, and that's what's so interesting here is that it seems like, our existing legal frameworks are really struggling to keep up with this technology. It's almost like we're, trying to judge a horse race with the rules of a chess match.
I like that, yeah, the pieces just don't fit.
They just don't fit.
And Trend Talk USA jumps right into it with this really interesting case. Imagine a fatal Tesla crash in 2025. And the victim's family is suing Tesla, but Tesla's saying, no, it was the fault of the AI software vendor.
Oh, wow.
And then the vendor's saying, no, it was the driver's fault because they should have taken over control.
Oh, geez.
And the judge is stuck in the middle with no legal precedent to help them decide.
Well, and this is a really critical gap that we have right now.
Yeah.
According to a recent study by the Harvard Law Review, there are currently no U.S. laws that specifically address liability for accidents involving AI.
No laws at all.
Nothing. It's a
Wow.
huge problem.
It's no wonder that insurance companies are hiking rates for AI car owners by like 200%.
Right.
Because they're operating in a complete legal vacuum.
Yeah.
I even heard a lawyer joking the other day that AI stands for always innocent.
That's pretty funny.
But it really highlights the absurdity of the situation.
Yeah, this uncertainty is really breeding a lot of fear and distrust.
Right.
It stifles innovation, and it leaves victims with very little recourse.
So let me ask you this. Put yourself in the listener's shoes.
Why?
Imagine you're in an accident with a car that's powered by AI.
No.
Who do you sue?
Right.
Do you sue the manufacturer, the software developer, the driver who maybe was relying too much on the AI?
Right.
Where do you even begin?
Well, and that's where things get really complicated.
Yeah.
Because some experts are saying that we need to adapt existing product liability laws
Okay.
to cover software and algorithms. But others are saying, no, we need completely new legal frameworks. We need specialized AI courts.
AI courts. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a big debate right now.
Well, let's move on to another scenario that Trend Talk USA brought up. And this one, I think, is especially alarming: AI-generated libel.
Yeah.
They shared a story about John, a teacher in Texas, who was falsely labeled a pedophile by ChatGPT-5.
Oh, my God.
And it wasn't just an online rumor or something. It spread everywhere.
Wow.
He lost his job. His reputation was completely destroyed,
Yeah.
all because of an AI hallucination.
And what's even worse is that OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT,
Right?
they actually tried to shield themselves from any liability by pointing to their terms of service.
Oh, really?
And basically they're saying, look, we're not responsible for what the AI produces.
So they can just say that and get away with it?
Well, that's what they're hoping.
So if an AI ruins your life, tough luck.
That's the argument.
It's hard to believe that there wouldn't be any legal recourse for someone like John.
You would think so, right?
Didn't Congress try to address this with the AI Accountability Act?
They did. But unfortunately, powerful lobbying efforts from tech companies really watered down the bill.
Oh, wow.
And they ended up adding clauses that make it almost impossible to hold developers accountable.
So they're basically saying, we unleashed this incredibly powerful AI on the world, but we don't want to be responsible for the consequences.
Exactly.
That is a very troubling thought.
Yeah, it raises some serious questions about corporate responsibility in the age of AI.
Well, and now we need to talk about something that complicates this entire conversation even further, and that's the concept of AI personhood.
Yes.
Trend Talk USA touched on this a little bit, and this is where things start to feel a bit like science fiction.
Yeah.
We're talking about giving AI the same legal rights and responsibilities as humans.
Right, and this debate is really gaining traction, because proponents of AI personhood are saying that as AI becomes more sophisticated, as it becomes more independent, it makes sense to give it legal recognition.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So if an AI creates a piece of art or writes a poem,
Yeah,
does that make it a person?
right.
And if it's a person, does that mean you could sue it or even put it in jail?
Yeah. I mean, these are the questions that are being debated right now.
It's mind-blowing.
It is.
And to make things even more complicated, Saudi Arabia actually granted citizenship to an AI named Sophie 17.
Oh, well.
So now we have a robot citizen walking around.
Yeah, where does this all lead?
I don't know, but I am very curious to find out. So we have a robot citizen walking around. What happens if Sophia, commits libel in Riyadh? Can you sue a robot? I mean,
Right.
it sounds crazy.
It really does. But I think this whole question of AI personhood really pushes the boundaries of our legal system. And I think it forces us to examine, like,
Yeah.
what really defines consciousness and responsibility and, what it really means to be a person in this digital age.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think. But
Yes.
I gotta admit, all this talk about AI personhood is a lot to process. It's like we're living in a sci-fi movie.
I know, right?
And it's becoming clear that we need to start taking these issues seriously before they catch us completely off guard.
Well, we're at this crucial point where the technology is advancing faster than our ability to, like, fully grasp its implications.
Right.
And the legal and ethical frameworks we've relied on for centuries, they just aren't equipped to handle these new challenges that AI is presenting.
So where do we go from here? I mean, what are some potential solutions to this whole AI accountability puzzle?
Well, there's no easy answer, as we discussed earlier. Some experts are suggesting that we expand existing product liability laws to include software and algorithms.
Right.
Others believe that we need entirely new legal frameworks specifically designed for AI. And this could lead to the creation of, specialized AI courts or tribunals.
AI courts. That's a fascinating concept. Imagine a courtroom with a robot judge presiding over a case argued by AI lawyers.
I know it sounds crazy.
It's a little too futuristic, maybe, but it does highlight the need for some innovative solutions here.
It does. And beyond just the legal aspects, there's also a growing movement towards ethical AI development. Organizations like the Partnership on AI, they're establishing guidelines and best practices for creating AI systems that are, safe, transparent, and accountable.
Okay, so it seems like we need a multi-pronged approach here.
Absolutely.
We need updated laws, ethical guidelines, and a good dose of public awareness to really navigate this uncharted territory.
Yeah, this is a conversation that everybody needs to be a part of. Lawmakers, tech companies, everyday people.
This has been a real eye-opener, especially considering that it all came from a single episode of TrendTalk USA.
I know, it's amazing how much this one episode sparked such a wide-ranging discussion.
Yeah, and to our listener, we encourage you to continue this conversation. Consider the scenarios we've discussed today, the ethical questions they raise, and the role you envision for yourself in shaping the future of AI.
Remember, the choices we make today have a direct impact on tomorrow.
Speaking of the future, TrendTalk USA briefly mentioned AI's potential role in the upcoming 2026 midterm elections.
So, yeah.
They specifically highlighted the rise of deepfake politicians. Have you given much thought to that?
It's a disturbing prospect, but one we can't afford to ignore. Imagine a world where you can't even trust what you see and hear from political candidates.
Yeah.
It's like stepping into a political hall of mirrors where truth and reality are constantly shifting.
It sends chills down my spine. The potential for AI to manipulate public opinion and undermine democracy is very real. How do we differentiate between genuine content and cleverly crafted deepfakes? How can we prevent AI from being used to erode trust in our institutions?
It's almost like we're entering this new era of information warfare, where the battleground is our minds and the weapons are these sophisticated algorithms designed to exploit our biases and manipulate our perceptions.
So what can we do? How do we fight back against this potential onslaught of digital deception?
Well, for starters, we need to invest in developing technologies that are capable of detecting deepfakes.
Okay.
And maybe even more importantly, we need to educate ourselves and others about the dangers of misinformation. We need to arm ourselves with critical thinking skills and cultivate a healthy skepticism towards the content that we consume online.
So we need to become like digital detectives, carefully analyzing information and scrutinizing everything we see and hear.
Exactly.
But beyond individual efforts, what can be done on a larger scale?
Well, I think we need to start thinking about potential regulations for the use of AI in political campaigns.
Okay.
Clear guidelines and safeguards could help prevent the worst-case scenarios. And, of course, we need to demand accountability from those in power, both in the tech industry and in government.
So it sounds like a multifaceted challenge that requires a multifaceted response.
Absolutely.
But for now, I think we've given our listener a lot to consider. This deep dive into AI accountability has revealed a landscape that's incredibly complex and constantly evolving.
We've really only scratched the surface. The legal landscape is still very much in flux. The technology is rapidly advancing and the ethical considerations are multiplying by the day. But it's important to remember that we're not powerless in this situation.
I agree. But how can we as individuals make a difference in such a complex and rapidly evolving field?
One crucial step is to stay informed and engaged. Don't shy away from these conversations. Continue to explore these issues, challenge your own assumptions, and demand accountability from those developing and deploying these powerful technologies. The future of AI is not some predetermined outcome. It's something we're all actively creating together.
That's a powerful message. It's not about surrendering to the inevitable, but rather about actively shaping the future we want to see. So, to our listener, we encourage you to continue this deep dive on your own, delve deeper into the issues we've discussed, explore different perspectives, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask tough questions. Wow, it feels like we've opened up a real Pandora's box today. Who knew AI accountability could be so complex and thought-provoking?
It really highlights how quickly our world is changing with technology and how our laws and ethics are having trouble keeping up.
Let's do a quick recap for our listeners just to make sure we're all on the same page. We started by looking at self-driving car accidents and how figuring out who's to blame can be a real nightmare. Then we moved on to that really scary thought of AI libel, where a chatbot can just destroy your reputation and the people who made it can say, oh, well, not our problem.
Right.
And just when we thought it couldn't get any weirder, we dove headfirst into the whole debate around AI personhood.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff feels like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It really is, and I think the big takeaway here is that we're in completely uncharted territory. The rule book is still being written, and the consequences are huge.
So what does all this mean for the average person who's just trying to make sense of this world where AI is everywhere? It can feel pretty overwhelming.
I think the most important thing is awareness.
Mhm.
You can't just blindly trust everything an AI system tells you.
Right.
Be critical. Ask questions about the information you're given, and always remember that AI is a tool like any tool that can be used for good or for bad.
That's such great advice. I love that it's like that old saying, trust but verify.
Exactly.
Or maybe in this case, it should be trust but verify and then verify again just to be safe. But how can we as individuals really influence the development and deployment of AI? It just feels like such a huge undertaking.
Well, we can make a difference through our choices and our voices.
Mm,
We can support companies that are developing AI ethically.
okay.
And we can demand transparency and accountability from those in power. And of course, we need to keep having these conversations. The more we talk about these issues, the more likely we are to find solutions.
It sounds like we need to become more AI literate citizens. We can't just sit back and accept whatever the big tech companies and governments decide. We need to be active participants in shaping this future.
Absolutely. The future AI is not something that's predetermined. It's something we're all creating together.
Well, this deep dive has really given us a lot to think about, and while TrendTalk USA didn't give us any easy answers, they did leave us with a final thought that's pretty unsettling: the potential impact of AI on the 2026 midterm elections, specifically the rise of deepfake politicians.
Yeah, that's a serious concern.
I mean, imagine watching a campaign ad and not knowing if the candidate is actually speaking or if it's just some really clever AI manipulation. It raises some big questions about the integrity of our democracy in the age of AI.
Absolutely. It's a
Yeah.
reminder that the line between what's real and what's fake is getting blurrier and blurrier.
It's a chilling thought, and one that we need to take seriously. If we can't trust what we see and hear, how can we make informed decisions about the future of our country? How can we protect our democracy from these powerful technologies?
It's a challenge that demands proactive solutions. We need to keep developing ways to spot and expose deepfakes. But we also need to focus on education, teaching ourselves and future generations how to think critically in this increasingly complex digital world.
It sounds like we're all going to have to add digital detective to our resumes, constantly questioning the information that's thrown at us.
Haha. Pretty much, we need to develop a healthy sense of skepticism, remembering that what we see and hear might not be what it seems.
And maybe most importantly, we need to keep these conversations going, raising awareness and holding those in power accountable.
Exactly.
Well, this deep dive has been quite a journey, and while we've uncovered some unsettling truths about AI accountability, I think there's also a sense of hope we're not powerless in all of this.
Right.
By staying informed, asking the tough questions, and demanding that AI is developed and used responsibly, we can create a future where this technology actually empowers us instead of holding us back.
Well said. The future of AI is not a passive inevitability. It's an active creation, and we all have a role to play in shaping it.
So to our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked your curiosity, challenged some of your assumptions, and inspired you to keep exploring the ever-changing world of AI. Remember, the future is not something that happens to us. It's something we create together.